I am excited. I am on the Andrew Brunet show right now with worship recording artist Tom Taylor. Tom, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. How are you doing, Andrew?
Doing great. I see you got so much exciting stuff going on for your ministry right now. Share with us a little bit about what's going on.
Well, first of all, I have a new single coming out. Hopefully, if not by the end of the month, hopefully by early next month. It's called Masterpiece, and I co-wrote it with my good friend Renee, my friend Cedric, and he's also producing this track. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I hear you was also nominated for an award.
Yep, my very first nomination. So I'm very excited.
That
Yeah.
sounds like some great fun there. So share with us how you got started in the worship ministry.
Well, it's kind of interesting, At first, you know, I was a pizza delivery driver, and I just grew tired of the same routine, and I didn't feel fulfilled in what I was doing. I was depressed. And so this is kind of the long story. I put an ad on a bulletin board in a music store where I live, in the area where I live. And I got a call back from this Christian, it was a Christian hard rock band, actually. And so that's how I got started in Christian music originally. I played bass in a hard rock band. And while I was in this band, I suddenly was able to start writing songs, which I had always wanted to do. I was never able to do. I remember, asking my dad, can you show me how to write songs? Because he had written songs, he played guitar. He said, it's not really something I can show you. It's something you really just do. And I think he was right to, at least to a degree. And so I was in this band. Suddenly one day I sat down with my guitar and I wrote music and a melody, and so that's how it all started. And that was back in 2005 that I started writing.
That's awesome. So, has there been a song that maybe you've written that has really gripped you and helped you through a hard time?
Oh yeah, there's probably one that really stands out to me that I'm thinking of right now is one called "I Will Trust," because that's really been kind of a theme for me, and it's something I believe the Lord just keeps reiterating to me. Trust me. One thing more recent is focus. Focus on me. And another thing has just been trust me, and so that's what I strive to do. Trust him in all things.
So, was there a certain Christian artist that you heard that really influenced you to keep going on the worship music route?
Well, I was saved when I was 9. That's when I accepted the Lord, and so a lot of the Christian artists I originally listened to were, the old school ones in the late '80s. I listened to Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith. Carmen was, I believe, Carmen was that the very first Christian artist I listened to. And so, yeah, so a lot of those old school artists, as far as Christian music goes, I grew up listening to my parents' music. I grew up listening to classic rock, um, uh, folk, singer-songwriter stuff, and so that's what influenced me musically, is those kind of artists.
That's awesome. So, what has been one of your most memorable experiences while traveling on the road?
Um, well, I'd say, probably the television appearances in Atlanta are always, always a highlight. Appearing on a show called Atlanta Live, I've done that. I believe it's been 3 times now. First time was way back when I was first starting, after my first album came out in 2008. And more recently, a couple more appearances. So those really stand out. And just playing, something that really stands out is just, playing to the audiences and just seeing how how it's blessed them coming up afterwards and just talking about how it blessed them, and I do prison ministry. And so the same thing has happened in that, where they would come up and say, I really like this song or that song. And so it's just really cool.
So was it something that you knew all along that you wanted to be a worship artist?
Um, I always wanted to be when I was younger, I wanted to be a recording engineer. That's what I wanted to be. But in my early adulthood, I wanted to be a musician, really. I kind of wanted to be in the background, like I was a bass player in the band. And I remember when I started writing these songs. I remember saying, I don't want to be a an artist, like I don't want to be the center of attention on the stage, because I didn't want that. But, there was no way to avoid it because it was obviously a calling, and the Lord gave me the ability to write these songs, and they needed to be shared. So, yeah.
Denise Winter says, "Hello, Tom Taylor."
Oh, hi, Denise. How are you?
She's in a group that I'm in that's called the Sleepless Club that Red Stain Group does, and I shared this video over there because I know you've been in Red's room a couple times too, haven't you?
Yeah. I've connected with her through Red's Room. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's coming up for your ministry?
Well, I'm hoping to do more live performances. That's something I'd like to start doing full time. It's something that keeps coming up, full time ministry, so, you know, God's will be done regarding that. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but, in God's timing. So,
So what about a testimony that you've heard at a concert that really just gripped your soul and blessed you, whether it be at your product table or whether it be a song that somebody heard that you sang and it just really ministered to their heart?
oh, you mean a personal testimony or someone else's testimony or?
Someone else's testimony that they've shared with you.
Um, I don't know. I'm kind of drawing a blank right now. But I've definitely heard some great testimonies. Um, yeah.
So share with us your testimony about how you got saved, how you accepted Jesus Christ into your life.
Well, yeah, it was through my dad. He he personally was saved listening to Jimmy Swaggart on the radio. He was only 21 years old, and it was July 4th of all days in 1975. And he heard Jimmy on the radio, and he was sharing the gospel. And my dad prayed and accepted Jesus then. And when I was 9 years old, my dad was listening to a tape series of Jimmy Swaggart, and basically before I went to bed that night, he prayed with me to accept Jesus as my Savior. So that's how that happened. And being a kid and kind of immature, I didn't really stick with it. I recommitted my life in my teens, and I really grew more in my faith in my early adulthood, and more. I'd say in more recent years, the most growth has occurred. Yeah,
And one thing that I wanted to talk about in this interview is how when you go through things in life, it's the great perseverance that requires great faith. You know,
yeah,
you can go through so many trials in life, but if you realize, you know, your your faith in God gets stronger.
yes, exactly.
And I followed you there for a little while, and I've seen that you've been through some storms in your life. But I've
Yeah,
also seen how God has took those storms and turn them into not only a testimony, but a way to bless other people. Because, I mean, look at Job and everything that he's been through. You
Yeah.
know, the enemy went to God and they said, you know, the enemy goes, God cannot tempt so and so. Me and Diane Jones was talking about this today. You know, the enemy has to go to God to get permission to test us.
Yeah.
But it's up to us whether we come out as pure gold or whether we decide to just give up the battle.
That's right.
And you know, I'm so tired of seeing Christians, so-called Christians, throw in the towel and say that they're done. When there was a man that was nailed to the cross for all sin, he didn't say he didn't give up when he was in ministry. Man, look at all the hell that he had to face. Look at
Yeah.
all the demons that he had to come against. Look
Yeah.
at all the pandemics he had to come against. But you know what? He didn't stop there. He took it all the way to the cross.
Yes. 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 And that's where our freedom is from. So, yeah.
And you know, it comes to a point I don't think we realize the freedom that we have in Christ.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
anything
I
you,
mean, we struggle here, you know, we continually struggle because we're in this fallen state, you know, and we're still in the flesh. So we still have to battle against that. But through Christ, we do have freedom. So,
excuse me, it all goes back to what Philippians said when it says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Your
yeah.
strength doesn't come from yourself. It doesn't come from your flesh. It comes from God.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes we get into molly grubs and we get into flesh and we think, oh, I can handle this problem all by myself. And man, do we ever screw things up when we get there.
Yeah. We often try to do things in our own strength and we forget to rely on God. And that's what we need to do. I know that that's what I've been forced to do, mostly in the last few years.
And you know, I've realized that when you've got nothing else that you can count on, you can always count on God.
Yes. Yes.
When we should have relied on God in the first place and not the last place.
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
So,
I have a song that I wrote recently that where one of the lyrics are "You're the only constant in my life." So, and that's that's the truth. God is the only one that will never ever leave you or forsake you.
and you know, some people say, well, you know, God hasn't failed me yet. Well, you know, He ain't failed you yet and He ain't going to.
Yeah, he
God,
won't.
do- God doesn't fail. It's not a failed me yet. He doesn't fail.
Yeah, yeah. Something I tell him is you're perfect and your plan is perfect. So your will be done.
And you know, it's hard to grasp that when you got a situation on your hands sometimes. You know, we think our situations sometimes are too big for God. But,
Yeah.
but, but you know, I'm reminded God is a God who knows all things. All things are possible through him. With man, nothing is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you can count on your best friend in the midnight hour, but when you call and that best friend lets you down, who you going to call on then?
Yeah.
You've got to call on God. You know, and I figured that out in the hospital room, laying there when I didn't have anything else to do. You
Yeah.
know, I prayed. I sought the Lord, and He heard my prayer, just like David said in the Bible. You know, and I'm glad that He heard my prayer, because if He
Yeah.
didn't hear my prayer, I wouldn't be here today.
That's right. Yep. He's faithful.
And you know, without His faithfulness and His goodness and His mercy and His grace, me or you wouldn't even have a ministry to talk
Yeah.
about.
It's all from him. It's all from him.
So you talked about a recent single that you got coming out. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I co-wrote it with, I said my friend Renee Jenkins, who I've written with for the last couple of years. and also my friend Cedric Israel, who's also producing this single. And it was his concept that he came up with, and it's basically it's a really cool idea. Basically, it's our life being like a painting of by God, himself, and you painted a masterpiece, and through all the brokenness, all the pain, through broken heart, broken dreams, and all that, you still brought a masterpiece out of all of it. And so that's the concept of the song, which I think is really awesome. And I think a lot of people will relate to it.
So, to the person that may be watching today that feels broken, as you speak of masterpiece, what comes to your mind?
Um, well, right now, what just came to mind is how we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and it's made in the image of God. And, we can trust Him in any circumstance, and He's always there for us. And yes, each of us have a calling and a purpose, and we need to seek Him on that and trust Him with whatever His calling and purpose is.
You
If
know,
you're alive, you have a purpose, and you need to remember that.
I like what a guy said last night that was on my program. He was talking about when he gets up to heaven, the Lord's going to prepare a table in the presence of our enemies.
Yeah,
And everything that's ever been that you've ever done in your life is going to be laid out across that table. But there at the head of that table, there's going to be one that's greater than you and I. And the purpose and identity for our life is going to be laid out. And everybody will get to see that. And
yeah,
I got to thinking about those that mock ministries these days. Those that speak hate against their brother, those that gossip, those that have lied against us. He's
yeah,
preparing that table. And when we get to see it one on one with the King, my goodness, what an experience that's going to be.
yeah, yep. And no weapon formed against you will prosper. That's what comes to mind.
Yep.
And anything anyone's spoken against you, you know, you will condemn.
But
So,
there's people that live out there in the world, they think, oh, if you're a Christian, then your life is a rose garden and you ain't got no problem.
not true.
I said the other day, I said, if Christian life is a rose garden, I've missed out on mine. I've done something wrong because my life has been full of thorns. I've had sickness.
Yeah,
I've had people come against my ministry. I've had scoffers. But you know what? I've come to realize if they did it to Christ, they'll do it to me.
yeah, yeah. If you'll look at just the lives of the apostles, and the prophets and what they went through, you'll see that it's not a rose garden for
Yeah.
sure. So,
Denise says, come to South Jersey when you do go on tour.
oh, yeah,
She said he's the best friend when you feel overlooked.
oh, that's sweet. Yeah, Denise is great.
But trials in this life, when we're going through trials, if we would pick up that Bible and we would truly seek out the face of God, that trial wouldn't be so big anymore.
Yeah, yeah, because His peace is there when we need it. He gives
Yeah.
us His peace and even joy in the midst of adversity. So, yeah.
So, when given the opportunity to sing, what would be one of your favorite songs that you perform?
Um. Well, as I mentioned, "I Will Trust" has always been one of them, and probably stuff I've written or co-written recently. Just because, you know, the stuff that's the newest is kind of the stuff an artist is probably the most into, because it's fresh and new and they're fresh ideas.
What about favorite cover song that you would sing?
Cover songs I haven't done much of. Um, there's definitely, you know, worship songs that I love, you know, but yes, I've always mostly done originals. I did a cover of the old hymn, Solid Rock, on Christ the Solid Rock I Stand. But I did it jazzy. I jazzed it up. Interesting take on it.
So, why did you choose that particular hymn?
Well, I had the idea. This was my third album back in 2011. I had the idea because I was doing actually a rock-oriented album. I'd gotten an electric guitar and I was doing a rock kind of oriented album for the first time. And I thought of Solid Rock. I thought of the title Solid Rock for the album. And then the idea came, yeah, why don't I redo the old hymn and in my own arrangement? And so that's how that came about.
Denise wants to know who is your favorite worship singer inspiration,
That's hard to say. Um,
or one that has inspired you.
um, Casting Crowns are not, you know, an individual singer, but they're definitely an artist, a band that has been an inspiration. Um, More recently, people like Zach Williams, he inspired me to get into prison. He's one of my inspirations to get into prison ministry, and um, yeah, and his music has touched my heart too. So,
So, when you got the news that you was nominated for this award, how did it make you feel?
oh, it was exciting. It was a blessing because I've gone through a lot of trials recently, and just, you know, when you get good news like that, it's just all the more greater when and exciting. So yeah, it was a real blessing and it was a real honor.
And what exactly was you nominated for, just in case there's somebody
Um,
watching?
they haven't told me yet. They said that I was nominated for one or more awards. Um, I guess they're going to be letting me know soon what category or categories they were for. But it was through WVIU Web Radio Music Awards.
Denise wants to know, have you heard of Ben Fuller? He is about prison ministry too.
I don't think so.
But like worship music draws you in to the Holy Spirit. So during your time when you're not singing, what are some of your hobbies that you like to do?
Um, well, honestly, music is like my main hobby. So if I have free time, you know, I actually don't write like I should or play guitar like I should. I'll admit that. Like a guy asked me at work today, you play your guitar very much? I'm like, not like I should, you know, so if I have free time, that's what I should be doing, or writing or co-writing or recording. That's what I should be doing because that's my gifting, and that's my calling, and really that's my main hobby. And if it's and it's I'm also a big music fan, so
So at what age did you pick up a guitar and learn how to play it?
I was about 10 when I started playing, and it was my dad had played guitar, and my brother started learning first. My older brother, Bill, and he started learning first. So I started learning a little from him and from my dad, and um, I had more of a knack for like bass parts, bass lines. So I'd learn bass parts, and my older brother and I would jam, and he would play lead guitar while I'd play bass parts, and I actually got my own bass guitar, electric bass guitar, when I was about 14. And so that's what I had more of a knack for at first. And then when I was about 17, I got my very own acoustic guitar of my own. And then that's when I really started spending time learning the guitar more. I learned to finger pick, which is a big part of my style. And that's when I learned the most.
So, what was the first song that you learned how to play on the guitar?
It might have been Amazing Grace, actually. Just like the A D E, with the A D E chords, some of the first chords you learn, and it was in a songbook my dad had. So I think that may have been one of the first.
So, are there any other instruments that you play?
Yeah, I play the bass guitar, as I said. I play a little bit of keys, not a whole lot. I know chords. I play enough to where I've been able to play keys on recordings, and then like edit it to make it sound like I play better than I really do. But yeah, guitar is my main instrument, and bass guitar.
Denise wants to know, is your son into music too?
Oh yes, yes, both of them are actually. I've got two boys. My oldest is Liam. He just turned 17. Um, my youngest will turn 13 in October, and they're both big music fans. And my oldest son, Liam, he actually played with me. He started playing with me on stage when he was 10. He started playing the bass, and he had a real knack for singing harmonies. So he'd sing harmonies and play bass for me, and he did it on the CDs too. So that was a real blessing.
Wow. So, what age did they begin to really get interested in music?
Um, I'd say Liam's always been really into music. Because I played music all the time, listened to music all the time mostly, and so he always had that interest. And but at about 10 years old, it wasn't he hadn't been playing for long before he started playing with me, because he's that talented. He picks up parts by ear, he plays by ear, and he plays complex parts that probably people that have played for years couldn't even play. So yes, I'm really proud of him.
So, what really encourages you to write a great song?
Um, I've said this before, the best songs I feel are the most inspired ones, are the ones that come to you almost all at once. They come to you, the music, the melody, the lyrics. It's like it's almost like it was handed to you. And I feel like those are the best. So, whatever I'm going through, a lot of my stuff has come through the hard times, and the comfort of God through that, and a positive message to myself and to others.
So, has there ever been a time that you were maybe going through a situation or something and God just placed a song right in your lap and you sit there and you're like, wow, God, you're really giving this message to me?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Another song comes to mind. It's called "I Am Free." It's a more recent song. It was on my last album that came out last year, and that's about the freedom we talked about, the freedom that we all have through Christ's sacrifice. And the song is a good thing because it's a reminder to myself, preaching to myself. It's a reminder to myself and to others that we are free. That when we receive Christ as our Savior, He's already made the way. He's defeated sin and death. He's given us the victory, and we just have to believe it, and act in faith.
So when you talk about freedom through Christ, what are some things that come to your mind?
Well, freedom from the bondages of sin, freedom from, there's freedom from every kind of bondage, fear, um, which I've dealt with, I've dealt with a lot of anxiety. And, I'll admit I'm still seeking the Lord for full freedom from that. And, sometimes I feel like I don't have enough faith. I'll admit that. Like I need more faith. Lord, give me more faith, you know, help me to experience freedom from this, because I've seen it, you know, in another area of my life. So I want to see it in this area, so yeah.
For those that are fighting anxiety, what are some of the Bible verses that you're holding on to when you go through situations such as that?
Well, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That's a good one. Um, um, so that's a major one. And yeah, my mind's kind of going blank right now.
Huh.
But
Well, Tom, it's been an honor talking to you. Tell folks how they can find out more about your ministry.
well, they can find me on Facebook. I'm at facebook.com/Tom Taylor Official. My official website is tomtaylorministries.net. And I've got a YouTube channel that's youtube.com/Tom Taylor Ministries. I'm on Instagram at Tom Taylor Ministries. So, basically on social media and website.
Well, thank you so much, Tom, for coming on. God bless you and have a great evening.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
All right. Bye bye.
God bless.